as Nagesh introduced me already, so let's get to the topic of today's discussion. And to start, for how our customers are designing their workload and the infrastructure that is needed for their application, for cost in mind, very similar to like you have security and fault tolerance, everything in mind when you're designing your solution. Similarly, I'm expecting that most of you are already doing it. I'm here to give you some solutions and tools that are readily available for our customers that you should be using. And when we say design with cost in mind, we will start with cost awareness. And cost awareness and this design with cost in mind, obviously what your goal is to optimize for cost. So your entire infrastructure is optimized. And obviously that's the very last one where you can do. You cannot like start with optimization. You need to start on the left as much as you can. So what that means is when you are starting to build your application solution and what needs to be in the infrastructure for your fault tolerance and performance requirements, you need to look at that what best available solutions are there in AWS to optimize for cost. So that's where the awareness starts in the very left on this screen. And then you continue to build your controls that what you can put. Obviously, you need to continue to strategize and plan to see the actual optimization of costs. And this is something you cannot do it in a day or in a week, right? This is a cultural change in your organization that you need to build, that every application group, every infrastructure, SRE groups, whatever that group is, need to have that in their mind that, okay, they are doing something, is it optimized for cost? So you need to wonder almost in a weekly basis that when there are changes going on, when there are newer or larger feature going in, and continue to do this in a cultural change. So to organize and report, obviously, AWS provides you a set of solutions and tools. And to start with, what we will talk about these two major tools, those are already available and majority of you have seen it. One is AWS Cost Explorer, and the second one is Cost and Usage Report. Cost Explorer is the one that you can easily find your cost and usage trends and current and the real-time usage. And this is the basic tool you should be already using. If you are not, definitely this is the initial thing that you should be looking when you are thinking about your cost and how to manage costs. And then as you go further and you want to get into the analysis of your cost, then you should be using your cost and usage report. And this is kind of the report that can be saved in a S3 bucket in a file, and you can utilize by your third-party tools or any other internal AWS tools like Redshift or Athena, or you can visualize using QuickSight or any other third-party tools. So this is where you can analyze as per your expected kind of reports that you need. For example, you need to report for a particular application or a project that you are doing. You may not be able to do it in Cost Explorer. I mean, you might. I mean, there are cases that you can have a best practice policies around tagging every resources. And you can enforce tagging, and I'm not sure if you are already doing it, but this is one of the AWS best practices about not just managing costs, but for multiple reasons, including automation, tagging needs to be there. So if you are already doing tagging, Cost Explorer can be used for kind of reporting particular to an application or a business unit, whatever is that a requirement for yours. But here in cost and usage, you can kind of analyze in multiple ways. So continuing in the optimization now, we talked about awareness and the optimization area. The very basic optimization starts with like choosing the right models available to purchase. And it could be something that is for different for compute layer, could be different for storage and S3, could be different for every different services. So you kind of need to look at the purchase models and categories those are available for the service that your application is using. So we will talk a little bit more today in this session for the compute side of the purchase models, but primarily it's exactly same way available for every service that you are looking at. And you will need to continue to try that matching capacity with demand. And there are ways to do it, and the best way is auto-scaling, as if you are already using auto-scaling, you are already trying to match your capacity need with the demand traffic and the performance requirements. And you will continue to simplify and optimize using certain tools like AWS Trusted Advisor, and I'm going to talk about it. So this is another slide for purchase model for compute. As I was talking, different purchase models are there to help you optimize based on your application and the performance requirements. Part of this purchase model, what we are showing here, that the compute EC2s can be on demand instances. It could be RI or savings plans, or it could be spot instances. So depending on your kind of the workload type, you need to kind of figure out that what is the right solution. It could be a combination of these as well. So the best way to make sure you can combine it in an optimized way is you use auto-scaling. And in an auto-scaling group, you can define all three, that how much percentage of my traffic is a steady state. Let's say 50% of your traffic and the workload is steady state. So you might want to do 50% commitment for RI, the reserved instance purchase or the savings plan purchase. And I'm not going into the details of what is RI and SPs. I'm kind of expecting you have already looked at. But if you haven't looked at these different purchase plans for EC2s. Similarly, part of the rest of the workload, as I was talking, is could be on demand. As on demand is for your spiky workload that can reduce or it can change in few months or within a year. If it is not going to change within a year, the RI option, RI or savings plan option is the best to give you the biggest optimization or the savings. So these are some of these tools and services that I was talking, that AWS brings you a set of solutions and tools so that you can continue to look at what's out there, and that gives you recommendation to optimize further. AWS Trusted Advisor is one of the tools that is like giving you all of the AWS recommendations and helping you to understand that what might be deviating from the AWS best practices. And I'm going to talk in another slide. Compute Optimizer also is another tool that you should be using for compute layer, particularly compute and EBS volumes, to give you the best recommendations that matches your workload and the statistics of your usage. And again, Cost Explorer resource recommendations. There are different resource recommendations you can find from Cost Explorer. And then these budget alerts and cost anomaly detection is another tool we're going to talk in another slide. This is the Trusted Advisor. And what it is the home of AWS best practices. All of you want to see that if your organization already following AWS best practices. There might be situation that you are not exactly following AWS best practices, But you should always want to know that what is the AWS best practice on this particular way or in this particular implementation. Whether you are following exactly or not, that's completely up to your workload and your design and your, how it applies for your situation. But you should find out if it deviates, and you should explain among your team that why it deviates. Does it make sense? Do you have a separate solution so that we are not leaving that gap that Trusted Advisor tells the gap is there and the recommendations is there? So what it does is it inspects your AWS environment almost in a daily basis and kind of compares with a set of rules we have. And those rules have been designed kind of learning from hundreds and thousands of our customers, in AWS customers. And we are constantly changing those rules, as well as we are designing newer checks for different AWS services. And you can do a bunch of different automations using Trusted Advisor. There are customers we have who have automated remediation. Let's say Trusted Advisor finds something that is in red alert. You can kind of do some automation using either Lambda or Event Bridge and the CloudWatch events, and can automate the remediation that is needed as per your requirement. So these are some sample AWS Trusted Advisor recommendation checks and recommendations, and I'm not going through all of those, but these are just showing that these are coming from the cost optimization pillar. So the Trusted Advisor gives those recommendations in 5 different pillars. So you should look at, for performance, there is a pillar and there are similar related recommendations that you will find, and these are for cost optimization, and there are some of these came and newly added around compute optimizer integration. So compute optimizer related recommendations now you can find in Trusted Advisor, as well as the SQL Server on EC2. There are certain recommendations are now added. And this is the compute optimizer. And compute optimizer is for EC2 instance recommendation. It has a ML model built in. So it will look at your usage for last several days. So when you enable it, it does need at least 2 days kind of get the recording and then the model kind of have it ready. And then we'll continue to look at your past usage and going to match with the best practice recommendations. That if you are using a R5 8XL, does it really require for your workload? It will give you the potential newer optimized instance types that you should use. And if you change from current instance type to a new instance type, what opportunities and savings you can get. So those insights are coming from those millions of workloads and giving you the best practice recommendations. And it will going to save you time comparing and selecting the optimal instance type that is right for your workload. How does it work? It definitely also scanning similar to Trusted Advisor, your infrastructure, and using these machine learning models to kind of come back with the best practice, kind of the matching workload that is the best fit for your scenario. The average customers came back using compute optimizer that they got a reduction or an optimization up to 25% of their compute costs. So I will kind of, this is basically telling that, okay, it will match you the right resource, and both of these either for the instance type as well as the auto scaling group. So auto scaling group is also very important, as most of you are using it to make sure your capacity is there that matches the demand of your workload, right? So this is the best way Compute Optimizer can kind of look at both of those auto-scaling group and the EC2 instances and give you recommendations. So that, and you can visualize based on the scenarios, and different scenarios you can see. And there is a sample picture in the slide. This is AWS budgets. This will allow you to set alerts based on your budget requirements or budget plans, and you can do that for your cost as well as usage. So let's say your usage, you want to make sure you don't want to cross this, or you want to be notified if it touches this much of usage or cost. You should be able to set these alerts so that you are not completely surprised for a larger spike of usage. As there are customers who may not be completely looking at in a day by day, it's not possible, right? So this is where this budget can help you to be notified where certain development team or some testing team using a kind of that is not planned and budgeted. This is Chatbot. Chatbot is a newer tool AWS is already providing that would help you kind of integrate the budget alerts with your third-party tools like Slack. And you can use some of the APIs and can extend it. So we recommend our customers that start looking into chatbots, and that can help you avoid missed emails. So it can re-notify you, and the notification, the basic setup should be pretty simple. I mean, unless you want to like integrate with other third-party tools that you have. Definitely there could be some extension and extra work your team needs to do, but we recommend to look at. And this is the cost anomaly detection. This is where another kind of budget alerts, as we discussed. This actually gives you a notification and telling you that where there is a significant change of your either cost or usage. So you don't have to kind of look back the entire trend in a day-to-day basis, but rather look at the cost anomaly detection's findings to see where the spend or the cost anomalies are. And this will obviously help you kind of saving time on investigating those anomalies it will give you some root cause analysis as well as pointing to the actual drivers of those cost spikes, like which resources and things like that. Well architected. I'm sure you have been, if you haven't used it, this is something is a framework that AWS has it available for our customers, and it also comes with 5 different pillars. And cost optimization is one of the major pillars that you should be kind of adopting part of your cultural change to kind of continue to adopt the design with cost in mind. And again, if you just do once, it's not good enough. You need to redo after your workload is deployed into production and do the cost well architected for the cost pillar another time to see what kind of policies and practices that you might have missed to get the best optimization for your cost. And all kind of different workloads you have, it's not for one application that you run and do the well architected, right? So every workload and applications that you have deployed into production that might be completely kind of differing based on their usage and cost. So every workload you should consider kind of going through these best practices and continue to have this improvement in your organization, part of the cultural change. The last thing I'm going to talk is cost tracking. Cost tracking is again that there are many of our customers finds that okay, we are optimizing, we did such and such, but where the optimization is really happening? Did you optimize, or how much we optimized? I mean, there are ways, and I'm going to talk some solutions and that AWS provides. But again, this is something like cost and usage reports. The car reports I mentioned earlier can be used where you can find in different ways. As I mentioned, resource tags is a great way to kind of help you find where exactly how much of the optimization was achieved by your team. The second use case is there are cases that not the entire team or all the application teams can have direct access to the pair account. So as there are some specific persons who generally have the full access or read access to the entire your company's costs and usage. And that could be a challenge for some of the customers, that kind of challenge for the entire tracking of the cost. So some of these tools I'm going to talk in the next slide will going to help overcome some of those policies that you might have, that not everybody in the organization have full access or read access to the pair account or the costs. Yeah, so some of these solutions, obviously we talked about Cost Explorer that can help you track your cost. And then the car reports, this is the one of the best way that you can do, and you can extend it as needed. Then there's a cost intelligence dashboard. This is a kind of an optional solution available in all architected labs in the AWS sites. And that basically uses your cost and usage reports. And I have a sample screenshot in the next slide. And if your organization really needs that tracking and visualization, where Cost Explorer is not good enough, obviously there are third-party partner tools are out there that you can look at. But while you are looking at alternatives than simple Cost Explorer that we have, we recommend you look at Cloud Intelligence Dashboard. Just the dashboard tool doesn't cost anything. It obviously costs the underlying services what you are using. It's just a solution available, and the entire CloudFormation script and the views and things that you need to create using your AWS Athena and QuickSight dashboards, everything is out there. So it basically uses your cost and usage reports and uses Athena to query as exactly as you need, and it can help you visualize as per your need in the organization. Kudos is a framework. This cost intelligence dashboard would be using that, and you can look into that. There's another dashboard solution we have is called TAO dashboard, TAO. TAO is Trusted Advisor Organizational View Reports. So I'm not sure how many of you have used Trusted Advisor Organizational Report from the management account of your organization. It actually needs certain support tier access. So if your customer, or if your organization already have those support tiers, then you would be able to see the organizational view of the Trusted Advisor. So what happens is Trusted Advisor by default would give you the recommendations and findings for a particular account. But if you want for all of your accounts for the entire AWS organization, this TAO dashboard can be helpful. And it will also use the Trusted Advisor reports underlying. And obviously, you can build multiple KPIs as per your needs, and you can reflect those back into the Cloud Intelligence Dashboard. Not all of those KPIs based on your needs are out there, but you can create customized views in Athena and create your necessary dashboards in QuickSight. These are some of these details of this cloud intelligence dashboard I was talking. It would use the car reports to start with. You need to make sure it is enabled. And as you know, car report would not give you the historical view. The day or night you enabled it, that's when it will start gathering the data. So if you haven't enabled it yet, you cannot use card today. But if you enable it today, after whatever months, you can start using and looking at the historical data points. It can work with your entire organization, and then you will be using the AWS Athena to kind of create those queries and the views that you need to look into a specific set of the data, or specific set of the costs or the usage that you are carrying at this point. And then you would visualize into QuickSight. And these are some of these kudos dashboard. If you can see it, it's not quite big. Screens that you can generate. And it could be as sophisticated as you need, as QuickSight will give you that visualization based on the queries you already built in Athena. And this is a Tau dashboard for the Trusted Advisor. So by default, Trusted Advisor gives you a real-time snapshot of today's findings and what is the recommendation that AWS Trusted Advisor is giving. If you want to look at the historical view of Trusted Advisor findings for a particular recommendation, let's say idle RDS instances, how much potential savings can be out there, or how many instances are out there. You can see by default for the current snapshot, but if you want to see the historical view of a particular finding from Trusted Advisor, Tau dashboard will going to help on that. And this is another sample for Compute Optimizer, that what kind of dashboard is available in Compute Optimizer. That's all I had. We have 3 minutes or so left. Any question I can help today? Yeah. So for across customer, broadly in the cloud, good question. I don't think I can answer that. There could be data available. I'm not sure if it is shareable. But for me, I cannot answer that right now. The question was if AWS has that data that broadly in the entire AWS cloud, how customers are doing as per the cost optimization is concerned. What I have seen, as I support enterprise support customers as a senior TAM, I have seen multiple very large enterprise support customers, and most of our customers have been doing really good. They look at majority of the tools I have talked today and continue to do well. Come with some kind of a cost engineering team. It could be 1 or 2% depending on the organization. But kind of finding that resource that who can be one person separated from rest of the person who has their own job, either SRE engineer or security engineer, somebody who can kind of look at these trends in a day-to-day basis. And again, I'm not saying that's the best practice. If you can adopt this culture among entire teams that design with cost in mind, that's the best way to go. Please. Good question. If you haven't heard that we have in EC2 purchase models, actually in compute purchase models, we have savings plan. That's a newer committed purchase plan. And the earlier was reserved instance or RI. Is there any still reason customers should do RI? Majority cases, we are asking our customers to do SPs, the savings plan. There could be some use cases, a couple of use case I can talk that customer might still want to do RI. RI would give you certain level of kind of reserve that is kind of reserved for a particular instance type, for example. As RI, you can do a little bit different way than compute. Compute is you are not really reserving a particular instance type, rather kind of doing a certain percentage, certain hours of time. So if you need that reservation guarantee type, it's not really a guarantee, but reservation stability, then RI is better. Other option actually could be, let's say you purchased RI for 3 years and you may not need it. There are some cases. RI used to have certain options to sell those in the marketplace. Savings plan is a pure commitment. You cannot change from customer A to customer B. Any other last question before the next person shows up? Go ahead. You already had 2 questions. I can talk to you after. No, I can talk to him after this. If you have a question, go ahead.
Also, the comparison, if I go with VM, I know fixed cost. I don't have to solve. If the 90 or 80% of the company are small business, they don't have much time to go to optimize cost. So if I know the fixed cost, I can budget. I don't want to bother about cost. Very big fact. It's small. I'm not an enterprise, right? So the case can compare the small term and medium fixed cost. Fixed cost a lot of fast. 150 or 1,000 services. You got to be subscribed.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if I got the full question. We can talk offline for the interest of time, but even for a small business or a startup, optimizing cost should not cost you more. Obviously, some time from somebody, but if you have this culture of design with cost in mind, that's the message I'm trying to give. Most of these tools does not necessarily cost you. Like Cost Explorer doesn't really cost much. It's just start using it the right way.
I think,
so yeah, no, the fixed, yeah, if you go with the fixed host model, AWS has host specific purchase model for EC2 instances, not the regular instance. Those are shared. So there is a shared model and there is a fixed like host model. So you can go for a host, but host would be much larger and would cost more. If it is correctly designed for your workload, then host might be better. But I have seen very few cases where customers go for the entire host, rather go for a shared virtual instances instead.